The beige suitcase sat half-buried under a pile of forgotten junk in the garage, its scratched leather surface barely visible in the dim light filtering through the dusty windows. I'd been at it for hours, sorting through 8 years' worth of accumulated chaos in an attempt to clear space for a new lawnmower. The garage was a testament to neglect. Boxes stacked haphazardly, some labeled with half-hearted scribbles like Christmas stuff or miscellaneous. Others blank, their contents a mystery. Tangled Christmas lights spilled out of one corner, knotted as if they'd been plotting their escape. A deflated air mattress, barely used, slumped against a shelf. Helen's old booster seat, a relic from her younger years, peeked out from behind a crate. There was even an unopened popcorn maker, probably a wedding gift we'd never bothered to return. My knees ached from crouching, my hands gritty with dust, but I kept going, driven by the stubborn need to impose order on the mess. That's when I spotted it, the suitcase. It wasn't just any suitcase. It was Heather's, the one she'd dragged along when we moved in together a decade ago. Vintage, she'd called it, though I'd always thought it looked more battered than charming. I figured it was stuffed with clothes she'd outgrown or odds and ends meant for donation, forgotten in the shuffle of our busy lives. Wiping sweat from my brow, I tugged it free from behind a shelving unit, the leather cool under my fingers. I sat back on an overturned crate, unzipped it, and flipped open the lid, expecting nothing more than moth-eaten sweaters or outdated shoes. First it seemed harmless. A jumble of trinkets spilled across the top, keychains, postcards, a couple of miniature snow globes, matchbooks from restaurants, coasters from bars. Souvenirs, the kind people collect on trips and tuck away as mementos. Some were still in their plastic wrappers, as if they'd never been touched. I picked up a keychain shaped like the Eiffel Tower, its cheap metal glinting faintly. Paris, I muttered, turning it over. My brow furrowed. Heather hadn't mentioned Paris. Not once in our 10 years together. Curiosity nudged me deeper into the suitcase. A postcard from Lisbon caught my eye. Its edges worn but the image vibrant. A sunlit street lined with colorful buildings. I flipped it over. No address, just a note in Heather's looping handwriting. Best risotto I've ever had. Wish I could bottle this night. I set it down and kept digging. A magnet proclaiming greetings from Vienna. A coaster from a jazz bar in New Orleans, the kind of place I could imagine Heather loving for its atmosphere. A neatly folded napkin from a tapas restaurant in Barcelona, pressed flat as if it held some sacred memory. My fingers slowed, a knot forming in my gut. Heather traveled a lot. Her job in pharmaceuticals demanded it. Conferences, training sessions, networking events. She was always jetting off somewhere. A suitcase in one hand and a smile on the other. I'd never questioned it. Why would I? She'd call from her hotel room, her voice crackling through spotty reception. Wish you were here, babe. She'd text me photos, blurry shots of conference badges or a quick selfie with the city skyline. Sometimes she'd come home with gifts, quirky little things like a coffee mug with a cartoon cactus or socks patterned with flamingos. Harmless, thoughtful. But these places, Paris, Lisbon, Vienna, New Orleans, Barcelona, weren't on her itinerary. Not that she'd ever shared with me. I leaned back, staring at the open suitcase like it was a puzzle I could solve if I just looked hard enough. Heather's trips were routine, predictable. Chicago for a leadership summit. Boston for a product launch. San Francisco for a regulatory seminar. She'd rattle off the details over dinner. Her tone casual, maybe a little bored. PowerPoints and bad coffee, she'd say, rolling her eyes. Nothing glamorous. But this suitcase told a different story, one I didn't recognize. Later that evening, Heather was in the kitchen, humming softly as she poured herself a glass of wine. The normalcy of it, her standing there in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, the faint scent of garlic from dinner lingering in the air, felt jarring against the unease churning inside me. I leaned against the counter, keeping my voice light. Hey babe, you ever been to Paris? She glanced up, her brow creasing just enough to notice. Paris. She shook her head, her lips curving into a small smile. No, why? I shrugged, picking up a dish towel and folding it absently. Just found a keychain in the garage while I was cleaning. Thought maybe it was from one of your trips. She took a sip of wine, her movements unhurried. Must be someone else's. My sister went years ago, I think. Probably hers. It was a reasonable answer. Her sister, Karen, was always chasing sunsets and Instagram-worthy moments. Beaches, mostly Cancun, Miami, the Caribbean, but Paris wasn't out of the question. I nodded, letting it go. Makes sense. But then I pressed, unable to stop myself. What about Lisbon? Or Vienna? Her smile flickered just for a heartbeat before she laughed, a little too brightly. What's with the travel quiz, Patrick? Are we playing geography trivia now? I forced a chuckle, scratching the back of my neck. Just curious. You're always on the road for work. Figured maybe you'd mention those places and I forgot. She waved a hand, brushing past me with a quick kiss on the cheek. You know my trips are all conferences and PowerPoints. Nothing exciting. She paused at the doorway, glancing back. Right. I muttered, but the word tasted sour. PowerPoints in paradise, I thought, watching her disappear into the living room. She didn't laugh at that one. That night I couldn't sleep. The suitcase haunted me, its contents replaying in my mind like a slideshow. I went back to the garage after Heather had gone to bed. The house quiet except for the hum of the fridge. Under the harsh glow of a single bulb, I sifted through the souvenirs again. The Lisbon postcard stared back at me. Heather's handwriting unmistakable. Wish I could bottle this night. It wasn't much, but it wasn't nothing. A seed of doubt had taken root, and it was already sprouting. I wish I could say I confronted her then, marched into our bedroom, woke her up and demanded answers. But I didn't. Fear held me back, not of what she might say but of what I might learn. Instead, I did what cowards do. I dug deeper, convincing myself I was just ruling things out. That night, while Heather slept beside me, her breathing soft and steady, I grabbed my phone and logged into her email. We'd shared passwords years ago. A practical decision for a married couple. Bills, travel plans, emergencies. Felt wrong, but it was easy. A few taps and I was in. Her inbox was a sea of mundane, work updates, travel confirmations, newsletters about drug trials. I scrolled, my thumb trembling, searching for something I wasn't even sure I wanted to find. Then I typed his name, Tyler. The results popped up, a handful of threads buried among the noise. Tyler Brennan, a name I vaguely recalled her mentioning once or twice. A colleague, she'd said, someone in the industry. Nothing memorable. The early emails were professional, dry even. They traded notes on conference panels, griped about overpriced hotels, shared links to articles about regulatory changes. But as I scrolled further, the tone shifted. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. Don't forget the wine this time. Still dreaming about that risotto, huh? You looked amazing in that blue dress. My stomach twisted, but I kept going, each message pulling me deeper into a reality I didn't want to face. Can't wait to see you next month. Same hotel. Those 3 days flew by. Let's not wait so long. I froze, my breath catching. Dates. Specific dates that aligned with her work trips. The next day, while Heather was out running errands, I tore through our credit card statements. Charges from restaurants I'd never heard of. Upscale places in Orlando, a jazz bar, a wine lounge on a rooftop. Orlando. She'd never mentioned Orlando, not for work, not for anything. Hotel charges followed, some under her name, others under H. Keller, her maiden name. The dates matched the emails, the souvenirs, the lies. I felt sick, my vision blurring as I cross-referenced everything. I even called her office, spinning a story about a security check to get her travel logs. The woman on the phone hesitated but sent them over. When I opened the spreadsheet, the truth was undeniable. Half of Heather's trips over the past 5 years were fabrications. No conferences, no trainings, just time carved out for Tyler. They'd met at a real conference I pieced together. San Diego 6 years ago. She'd sent me a photo from that trip, smiling with a group of colleagues, all wearing name tags. Tyler was probably just out of frame, or maybe he'd taken the picture. What started as a casual connection, drinks at a mixer, a shared laugh, grew into something else. Texts, emails, calls when I thought she was stuck in a meeting. And then, eventually, more. The worst part wasn't even Tyler. It was Helen. I found texts buried in Heather's cloud backups, synced by mistake or carelessness. Conversations between mother and daughter. Heather coaching Helen on what to say if I asked questions. Tell Patrick I called this morning if he brings it up. I'm supposed to be in Houston, not Atlanta. Thanks for covering, sweetie. My stepdaughter, the girl I'd raised since she was 9, had known for 2 years. She'd lied to my face, played her part in the deception while calling me dad. I remembered a night last year, Heather away on another trip. Helen had wandered into the kitchen while I cooked, setting her phone down. "Mom says hi," she'd said, casual as anything. "She's running late but she'll call tonight." I'd smiled, stirring the sauce. "Tell her to grab those weird cookies I like from the hotel." Helen had grinned. "Will do." Was that one of those nights? Was Heather with him while Helen covered for her? The week after I found the suitcase was torture. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Heather laughing at some joke Tyler told, calling him pet names she'd never used with me. Memories twisted, poisoned by doubt. I had to keep pretending. Kissing her goodnight, laughing at her stories, letting Helen hug me, while my insides burned. Heather left for another trip that week, Tampa this time, or so she claimed. I watched her pack, folding her slacks with care, tucking in her curling iron. She kissed me goodbye, smiling. "Wish me luck." I managed a nod. "Break a leg at your panel." She laughed. "Just a networking mixer, but thanks." I waved as her Uber pulled away, wondering how many times she'd kissed me before running to him. 3 days after she returned, I couldn't wait any longer. Helen was out with friends, a small mercy. I needed to face Heather alone. She was in the kitchen, pouring wine, humming like it was any other evening. I stood in the doorway, my heart pounding. "Heather," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "We need to talk." She turned, her smile faltering. "You okay? You've been quiet today." I gestured to the living room. "Let's sit." Her eyes flickered, confusion then fear, a deer caught in headlights. She set her glass down, the clink loud in the silence, and followed me. I sat on the couch, hands clasped, and looked at her. "I know about Tyler." Her face went white, her breath hitching. She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. I laid it out, the emails, the charges, the hotels, the souvenirs. Each word was a stone, heavy and deliberate, burying the life we'd built. She didn't interrupt, didn't deny. She just sank into a chair, her hands trembling. Then the tears came, raw and unstoppable, mascara streaking her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Patrick," she choked out. "I never meant for it to go on this long. I love you, I do. But I have feelings for Tyler too. I'm so confused. I didn't know how to end it." "Go live with him then," I said, my voice low. "If he's who you want." She flinched, wiping her face. "It's not that simple." "How long?" I asked. "How much of our marriage is a lie?" She looked away, her voice barely a whisper. 5 years. The words hit like a physical blow. 5 years, half our marriage stolen. "It wasn't always physical," she added quickly, as if that mattered. "At first, we were just friends talking, connecting." "Friends," I scoffed. 5 years of secrets, Heather. Lies. I asked the question I dreaded most. "And Helen? How long has she known?" Her eyes widened, guilt flooding her face. 2 years, she admitted. "She saw a message by accident. I made her promise not to tell you. I told her I'd end it." "You dragged her into this," I said, my voice shaking. "You made our daughter lie to me." She sobbed, but I couldn't listen anymore. I stood, my voice cold. "I want you out. Go stay with your sister. I'll have divorce papers drawn up." She gasped, reaching for me. "Patrick, no. Please, we can work this out. I'll end it with Tyler for real. I'll do anything." "You threw it away," I said. "Every lie, every trip, every kiss you gave him." "Not me." I grabbed her suitcase, the one she used for her trips, and threw in clothes, not caring what. When I dropped it at her feet, she was still crying, hunched over like a broken thing. "Get out," I said. I turned to the window, staring into the dark until I heard the door close. I sank to the floor, the silence deafening, and cried, deep, wrenching sobs that left me hollow. For the life I'd believed in, the love I'd thought was real. Dealing with Helen was harder. She came home the next day, oblivious, laughing about her night out. I watched her kick off her shoes, her voice light, and felt sick. After dinner, as she rinsed her plate, I spoke. "Helen, we need to talk." She turned, smiling. "What's up?" "Your mom's staying with your aunt for a while." Her face fell. "What? Why?" "I know about Tyler," I said. "And I know you've been covering for her. For 2 years." Her body stiffened, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't know what to do. Mom made me promise." She said it'd break us up if you knew. You believed her, I said, my voice cracking. You lied to me every day. I didn't want to lose you, she cried. You're my dad. I don't care about biology, you are. I wanted to hold her to erase the pain, but I couldn't. Every memory was tainted now. Pack your things, I said. You're going to your aunt's with your mom. She begged, her voice breaking. Please don't make me go. I want to stay with you. You should have thought of that before, I said. I can't look at you without feeling betrayed. She stood frozen, then ran upstairs sobbing. 20 minutes later she came down, backpack slung over her shoulder, her old pink duffel in hand. I love you, Dad, she whispered. Please don't do this. Go, I said, my voice hollow. She walked out, the door thumping shut behind her. I sat on the couch staring at nothing until night fell. The next morning I went to the bank, drained our joint accounts, $769, $793.24, into one under my name. Half was mine, and I wasn't letting Heather touch it. Her family came for me hard. Her sister called me cruel. Her parents threatened lawsuits, accusing me of vindictiveness. Even friends questioned me, saying I was too harsh, especially on Helen. But they didn't understand. This wasn't a mistake. It was 5 years of deceit, 2 years of lies from the girl I'd raised as my own. I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and returned half the money to avoid a fight I didn't need. Then I emptied Helen's college fund, every dollar I'd saved for her future. It hurt, but I couldn't fund someone who'd betrayed me. The court split everything else, house savings, even the car. Heather pushed for counseling, but I shut it down. This marriage is dead, I told the judge. She made her choice. Helen's statement in court nearly broke me. I don't want to lose either of them, she said, tears streaming. But I couldn't bend. She lost the version of me that would have fought for this, I said. She knows why. The judge, weary but firm, granted the divorce. What's done is done, he said. Move on. I walked out feeling lighter but not whole. Heather's family didn't stop. Her parents hounded me. Her father even showed up at my house, demanding I fix the mess. I told him the truth, Heather's affair, Helen's lies, and warned him off. He left, pale and silent. Then came the call from my mother. Heather was in the hospital, under observation after trying to hurt herself. Helen was crumbling, barely eating. I didn't feel pity for Heather, only a distant ache for Helen. But she'd made her choice. Karma, I said, and hung up. Now I'm alone in a quiet house, questioning everything. Was I too harsh? Should I have tried harder with Helen? The memories of Heather's laughter, Helen's hugs, haunt me, but so do the lies. I see a therapist, Dr. Fielding, who calls this trauma. Some days I feel progress. Others I'm back in the hole, wondering if any of it was real. All I know is I'm done pretending. Whatever comes next, I'll face it head on, no illusions left to break.